purely, you know, when you got in this business, I wanted to conquer the world, and you know, I followed my mom in the business, and she had found success in real estate, and I thought, you know what, that's for me. And I left radio advertising because I felt like I was in a controlled environment. I got tired of having the boss, and I wanted to come in. I wanted to kind of make my own path, and I wanted to get, you know, there's a mutual friend of Trey's and mine, a guy by the name of Bud McGinnis. He has a phrase, and maybe he, I don't know if he coined it, but
it's a good one.
It's a good one. Make all you can all you make, and sit on the can. And that's really what our attitude has been. And that was kind of on my, as I was talking to Trey earlier today, I said, you know, on my way to wanting to be a success, life happened. And Trey and I happened to have lunch at Owen's Country Sauces. Do you remember when the restaurant was right over here on Plano Parkway in Preston? And we sat down. I remember seeing this guy walk in, and I thought he was a younger guy. And I looked up and go, man, he's got to be at least 10 years older than me. How old is that guy? But then my hair was my hair was a different color back then. You know how you get those business cards? You know, have you ever seen the picture says, which house did you buy? You know, a house through which Dan Harker. I always thought, I can never use that because, you know, my hair's always the same. But I said, it hadn't changed. And my staff came out and said, let us show a few pictures. There's been a recession and it's colored on you. And, but Trey and I sat down at that lunch that day. And
you remember how we started? You know how that started? Is you know, I want to rule the world, and if I'm going to rule the world, then I need to see who's already ruling the world. Right? And there was this family at Remax called the Harkers. So this was before the Harkers even came to Keller Williams. And Susan Hubeck and I said, she said, you know, you need to meet this guy named Dan Harker because y'all have a lot in common, you know, age and so forth. And I said, well, tell me about their production. She goes, well, they're the #1 team in Texas with Remax. And I'm like, good enough for me. So remember, I called you, and that was the place where we met. And I think we were both going to try to figure out how to wrestle and rule the world that day.
We did. And probably in about 20 minutes in the conversation, we realized we were getting bored with the conversation, you know, production. And we started kind of digging a little deeper and realizing we had some other common bonds. And I think it's, again, one of those things, along our way to success, we ran into life. And we started realizing there's some other things that are important. About 2 to 3 years ago, and I appreciate Mary Pat and Mary Jane and all you guys who put this event on. And it's, it reminds me of the first inspirational breakfast that I went to at the family reunion back in
long time.
98, and I'm just forgetting the name, Amelia Island. And it was just a thrown together real quick thing, and I hope this is what this becomes down the road, you know, as we each year keep this going. But 2 to 3 years ago, there was a gentleman who got up to speak at the conference at the Inspirational Brunch. And if you've never been to the Inspirational Brunch, you go there and bring your tissues with you, because it's a time to learn and grow as a family together, but to, you know, hear what some other people have gone through and how they've gone on to inspire other people. And this gentleman stood up, and he had been with Keller Williams only about, excuse my allergies are bothering me, I apologize, for about 6 months. And he came in and said, you know, I want to be the top agent. And I'm sitting there listening to the story and going, oh, this sounds very familiar. He says, I want to be the top agent in the world, especially in my city. I want to be really good. And he said, I just got finished doing a transaction with a family, and I had called up the wife at home and said, hey, I forgot to bring a gift at closing. I wonder if I could bring it by right now to drop it off with you. And the lady says, well, that'd be great. Well, where are you at? He goes, I'm 2 minutes. I'm actually in the neighborhood. Can I stop by? She says, well, great. Come on over. He goes up to the door and knocks on the door, and no answer. And, you know, he's looking at the address like, this is the house I think I sold, and I think this is it. And he kept knocking, and nobody's come to the door. And he thought, well, maybe she's around the back. So he walks around the back, door's shut. And he goes, well, comes back around, tries her on the phone again, no answer, keeps knocking. Finally, the door opens up, and it's a 4-year-old little boy. And said, he goes, where's your mom? He goes, she's back here. She's on the ground in the master bedroom. And he goes, is that all right? He goes, I don't know. He goes running back there, and the phone had been ringing. The mom had fallen and had collapsed. She'd fallen on the phone, and and she was out. She was passed out. And so immediately he calls 911. As soon as he called 911, he calls up and he calls the husband. The husband just started a brand new job. And he says, you need to get over here. The ambulance is on the way. Something's wrong with your wife. And so he drove in the car with the little boy, following the ambulance to the hospital. They got to the hospital, and she unfortunately had an aneurysm and died. And so they were brand new to this city. They didn't live in this state previously. And the father is like, he's got to stop being, going to work, got to help out with the son. And he's like, they talked like 2 or 3 days later and says, the real estate agent came back and said, hey, is there anything I can do to help out? And he goes, you know what? He helped me how to figure out how to get out of this house. He says, I don't have family here. I got to go back to Florida. He goes, give me 2 or 3 days. Let me figure something out, and I'll figure out a way we can get you out of this house. And so he goes back. In the meantime, he's called the team leader, and the team leader, they start rallying around, getting food, getting toys for the little boy, and just all the little things that you need to get by. And he calls the guy in, and all along people have been dropping stuff out of his house, food, etc. And he comes up, and they figure out a way how they can get the house to sell quickly and keep the guy whole. I think people were collecting money to help buy this house. And she came back, the guy met the agent, and it'd been like maybe 4 or 5 days when they got back together again. And long story short, they're sitting there, and he says, I found out a way to get your house gone. He goes, you know what? Don't worry about it. He goes, why is that? He says, I'm home. He says, I'm home. And he goes, why do you say that? He says, your family is my family. You guys rallied around me. I don't need the house anymore. I don't need to sell the house. I'm home with you guys. I sat there in the audience that day, and I go, you know what? Shame on me for being the almighty dollar is the only way I'm going to, I've got to make the almighty dollar. And I'll fast forward. I'm a big believer in chapter changes, and if you don't notice the little things that happen along the way, you're missing out on some wonderful blessings. I truly think God will talk to us one day and say, I had all these blessings for you along the way that I think you missed. And I want to take you back through those. I've always been a healthy person. Back in 2005, in August, I was feeling fine, and one day I just had a terrible stomach ache, and I thought I'd eaten something wrong. And long story short, I had an appendectomy. And went to the hospital, and that's just a normal, you're in and out of the hospital in a day or so. But it got infected, and I ended up staying in the hospital for a couple of weeks, and had to stay at home for the couple of weeks at the house. And I don't know if any of you are like me, but they're in the car right now. I have a notebook, and I have a telephone. That's my life, that's my world. And when I'm gone from in the morning till at night, and got to the hospital, and I felt fine after the surgery. I think things progressively got worse, and my mom came up. My dad and mom had flown in from Colorado, and they were there for my wife's surprise birthday party the night that I had the surgery. And so my mom walks up, she goes, where's your notebook, where's your phone? And I said, well, it's over there. She goes, let me have it. I didn't see it for 1 month. I didn't see it. I called my assistant up. I said, in the period of the month that I was under, I had 13 houses sell. And I didn't touch one of them. They're on my listings, on my buyers, every one of them sold. My mom and my dad and my sister did every one of them. So I called my assistant up. I said, I need you to do me a favor. You make sure that every one of them gets paid full for their services for helping me out. And then I get this message back saying, Dan, your mom says it's all taken care of. They won't take any money. The money's going to keep coming in because you've been out. I thought, for me, I still get emotional after all these years, because I think this was a time that I was down. And, there's times where in life we're all going to get down, but we're going to need help from everybody else. And, I think about that man and his son, and that's where we want to be different. Trey and I have created this relationship with each other. It's funny. We get together, I get this great idea. I talk to Trey, and I want to see what his thoughts is. And his first thing is like, Dan, how's this going to impact your family? Is it going to help them, or is it going to take time away from them? I'm like, I can't do that idea. Or it's keep moving with it. But we'll play off like that. We have another, Tom's been a good friend for a long time, and it's the same Alan Miller, Dave Ponder.